This video is an intro video to qview. qview is a new technology we've introduced into Quincy, and I'm super excited about it. Unlike the normal videos we do here, I'm going to do a little bit of an intro to the... This video is focused on qview. It's a viewer technology we recently introduced into Quincy, and I'm really excited about it. I think the potential for it is truly unique. In this video, I'm going to spend a little time in PowerPoint, more than usual, and I'm going to talk about the origin of qview, why we developed it, and then I'm going to talk about where it is today and where we're going with it, and then I'll quickly show it to you and how to use it. Anyway, the core of the problem is a topic I've written a lot about and talked about a number of times, and that's viewing in the web. The current Quincy viewer, we have spent a ton of time. I write months and months here, but the reality is it's been years and years at this point, to be honest. Now, we've integrated about 7 different viewers. You can look at them all here. We've got a PDF viewer, we've got a rendered viewer, a graphics viewer, a media, a text viewer, a database, HTML, Cerberus, Hex, and registry, on and on, so it's actually more than 7. And they're all for different file types, and they each have different advantages, and the reason we have so many of them is because viewing in the web is a bit of a pain, and we want to always be able to provide the best possible viewing experience. We've spent a ton of time optimizing the heck out of it, but in my opinion, the solution is still inadequate. I would put it head and shoulders above most competitive solutions I've seen, which rely on 1 or 2 viewing technologies. But like I said, it's still not where I wanted it to be. It's still not something where I can say, hey, the viewer in Quincy is every bit as good as the viewer in FTK. It just simply is not. And that problem gave rise to qview. The approach of qview was, I said, well, wait a second. If the goal is to get it as good as FTK's viewer, can I use FTK's viewer? That was the initial idea. And of course, the answer was ultimately no. I couldn't integrate it into, I couldn't integrate Quincy into FTK, if you will. But instead, I was able to work with some desktop viewing technologies and stitch some work together so that I could relatively quickly present documents you were clicking on in Quincy in a desktop web viewer. I should just say a desktop viewer. So this is an MSI, this is qview. We've downloaded onto the desktop, and we have clicked somewhere in Quincy, and up has popped this highly disturbing image and properties of it. You can see all the related stuff is available here. And frankly, it's fantastic. It loads really quickly. It exceeded my hopes. It gives you all the power of a natural viewer. It works extremely fast. It views videos and audios better than the FTK viewer. So frankly, I was really happy with the result we had here, and so happy that I got a little bit carried away, and we just didn't want to just stop here. So the next stop, and this is what we're introducing in this release, and this is, I'm sort of in the middle of November, so since we date our releases, let's call this thing the November 15th release. The November 15th release will have this, and it's an extended version of qview, and we've added a grid. You can see the grid is here. We've added search. You can search right in here. There's a bar, and we've added the ability to open a case. And let me be upfront. The fact is, visually, it's not where it needs to be. It's still a little clunky. There's still a little buggy, but it is definitely headed in the right direction, and hopefully you can quickly see, oh my gosh, this is almost becoming its own application. And while it is becoming almost its own application, it is still fundamentally integrated with Quincy. So if you touch Quincy, qview will react, and that is the tremendous power of it. It allows you to live both in a desktop environment and in a web environment and utilize whatever is best for you at a given point in time. Now let's talk about where we're going. So you can see the initial phase 1 through phase 4 are launched or about to be launched, and I'm being upfront that this is done but buggy. Obviously, we will squash those bugs here in the near term. But we have all the way up from phase 1 all the way to phase 14. So we've got, what's that, 11 more phases we need to accomplish. Or excuse me, no, 10 more. And they range from just adding graphics and more interactive tools all the way up to facets and report widgets and ultimately processing data. And at this point, once we finish phase 14, you really will have a mini, and I call it mini, though it is going to be fairly expansive, mini FTK that is fundamentally integrated with Quincy. So it would be like being able to open up FTK and Quincy at the same time, click in Quincy, and have FTK immediately react. And I think, frankly, with the rate of development we're going at with this thing, we should be able to achieve all of this roadmap within the first quarter of next year. So an aggressive roadmap, but also an aggressive timeline, and something I'm pretty comfortable we'll be able to achieve. So now let me quickly go into the product. None of these videos would be complete without a little playing around in the product, and let me talk to you about the different capabilities that are there right now and how they work. Okay, so in order to get this to have any meaning, we're going to need to launch or go into a case. And let's open our grid. Where's my grid? There it is. And let's open the viewer. And let's search on pictures, just because some of these system files are kind of junk to look at. So again, we got our disturbing picture. So we're happy there. All right, now, for anybody who is operating on a install, any customer, to launch Quincy, you will click this button. If you have never launched it before, you should click the download qview. Excuse me, I said Quincy, I meant qview. To launch Quincy qview, you click here. To download qview, you click here. It won't work on this box. This is a development box, and the MSI is in the incorrect place. So for me to get it to work, I'm going to have to manually launch qview, so I'm going to go do that. But please don't hold that against me. So you can see qview is here. So it's like I had just launched it. Now I have to tell Quincy I've launched it. But again, for you guys, it is just as simple as you're going to click here. It's going to come here. This actually will activate your qview. When you see that page pop up, qview will also pop up in the background and begin to run. And at that point, you're ready to go. If you click on a video or on a document here, you see it rendered here. But also, excuse me, I should have opened my viewer. It rendered in here. So you can see the same image is appearing in qview as is appearing in Quincy. And if we go one more video or one more image, you can see there it is. And if we go to qview, there it is. Bingo. So that's the basic capabilities. You can then, of course, go do your normal related document stuff. Let me pull this over here. And let's look at the properties of this document. You can see the properties of this document. And, any other information related to this document, maybe bookmarks, maybe labels, whatever, threads, if it's part of an email chain. So anyway, you can see all you want to about this document. Now, like I said in the earlier part of the video, we are now launching the ability to have an interactive grid. So let's go ahead and do that. I've opened the grid, and we can move these around. Let's put this on the right side, and we'll put this thing on the left side. And let's go ahead and open our same case here, and let's search on frog, and go ahead and hit that. We got our 2 records, and I think they're both garbage, but we can go ahead and click on them and see if there's anything meaningful in them. Yeah, they're garbage, but nonetheless, the point is it worked. I was able to run a search, enter a case, run a search, got a grid, clicked on it, and viewed the documents. And it's the beginnings. It's not elaborate. It's not super incredible yet, but it is going to get there very quickly. And hopefully you guys can see that potential as clearly as I can. Frankly, it's one of the features I'm the most excited about in Quincy because A, we're going to be making incredible progress really quickly on it, and B, it's completely synced with Quincy. So if I were to hop back into Quincy and click on another document, the viewer would reset to that document. The two are constantly working in tandem. And I think that's going to give you guys as users a lot of flexibility to use a desktop environment, use a web environment, or use them together. Anyway, that's all I had for you. Again, hopefully it was helpful and interesting and got you excited about the potential here. Thank you very much.